당은 나딘 동안에 저 고려 동안에 저지 달바다 탐지기 몇 거. 네. 당아질에 자산 고려 동안에 저 고거와 고려 동안에 저시 하나 달바다 탐지기 몇 거. 또 고거래 싫어와. 그래서 먼저 탐지 달바다 탐지기 몇 거. 다 상기 거 토야라. 네 되게 초사 디베장 세디 초사 디비안제네 달바다 탐지기 몇 거. 또 고거래스. 디인자는 저기 초사 디비장에 나라ля는 지 아주 개유 안지가 얼라면에 저 라마 쳬바 아니 소신사 답텔이야 아니 저기 차체와는 초불라 초부알라 소바치지는 초사 디비장 도스제기 근데 라마 쳬비냐메데딘 마 도스제네 아주 디시거와다 디고 장도시거와다.
All of us, we have a wish to achieve happiness. In fact, that lasting, stable happiness that comes with the attainment of liberation from samsara, in particular, the attainment of enlightenment. To become enlightened, to become a Buddha, huge stores of both merit and wisdom need to be accumulated. And in order to aid the rapid accumulation of merit and wisdom, we engage in this practice. We started at the outset with first going for refuge and generating bodhicitta, as well as meditating on emptiness, and thereafter visualize the extensive merit field.
Den Dewala Duje, and the Jik Deja Dushin and Degi Tambodin Shimbache, and the Niba de la Carresenada, the Negitania Gulon set up Chetine, give you set up, and the Jamdroche, Japso Joy, Jamdro Samtang, the Nene Janju Semcom, or do Samta, the Janju Semcom Tevicella, and the Tombaji Topi, Castoniucom, the Tombaji Com Sevicella, Tombaji Topi. Lo Tingane, and I saw Sarah Doji Doji or Yejanga, and then Jake Nuji Lavas at Charwa, Nuda Ju, Nuji Lavas at Charwa. That the Nuji Lapsane, and the Garjorsen and the Sojian Sat of Yadro, Sojian Sat Tapche, and the Sojian Sat of Dene, and the Yeshiva, Deneju, and then Dushin, my team do sometimes. That is social sat of Savicella, and the Garjorsen on Zugi, the Chatsavadi, but the Yaladun you can achieve Puedi, and the Chatsavadi kissing down on the Chatsavadi, the social Namki, Guson Tuki, Indian, Ralia, Lamiki, Ranlia, Tinchemui, but Tinjay, but Jens and Delia, and Devatan Kubazidu, some Danje, and the Lamala Chatsawa said, kissing on the Chatsavadi, but to Sassare, that is on the Chubupuyat Madino Gozuero.
When engaging in the practice of Lama Chöpa, as with other practices, first one does the 6 preparations, such as cleaning the place where you'll engage in practice, or at least ensuring that it is clean. And then in front of the representations of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, one arranges appropriate offerings, and then sits in the correct position. Thereafter, one engages, having arranged the outer environment well, one starts establishing the inner environment. First, through generating the mind of refuge. Having meditated on refuge, one then meditates on bodhicitta, and now having cultivated both refuge and bodhicitta, one meditates on emptiness. Thereafter, the wisdom that understands or realizes emptiness, that wisdom, that consciousness, arises as the deity Yamantaka. So one is now identifying as the deity Yamantaka, and thereby engages in the next step, which is blessing the world and all the beings within it. Thereafter, one establishes the visualization of the merit field and invokes the wisdom beings, and then one is ready to engage in the practice of extensive accumulation and purification through the 7 limbs. And last week, we concluded looking at the first of the 7 limbs, that of prostrations. And through those verses, those 5 verses, we call to mind the varying qualities of the Lama, such as those of his body, speech, and mind, as well as calling to mind his tremendous kindness and benefit that he's brought into our lives. And with that in mind, with his qualities and kindness in mind, we offer prostration. Now, having concluded looking at the first of the 7 limbs, tonight we will start with the second of the 7, and that is offerings.
Ore kising hozo chojin sa dabje dine ishepa janda sayu jere de kasa nyuji jinyi lap sayu jere ndioro kasa de nangchue da chuzi jinyi lap shayro nangchue da chuzi jinyi lap shayro an chuzi nangchue da chuzi jinyi lap che dine chojin sa dabje di paradela de ji di la sha da.
By summation of what we've covered thus far, I just omitted one small part, which is that before, when one does the visualization invocation, also around then, one blesses the outer and inner offerings too. So that we also looked at some weeks ago. So the previous part to do with offerings was where they are blessed. Now we come to actually making the offerings or presenting the offerings.
That's it. Then ma dusre. Jabun Jezun Lama Chöpa naso chujin Jesu bulwani kwele rinje weba ne ale daje tuju chuji dagi bab sede no dusine nyeleti loshan.
Turning to the text, to the first 2 verses, verses 23 and 24. Refuge protectors, venerable gurus, together with your retinues, I present you oceans of clouds of various offerings. From spacious, elegant vessels, radiant and precious, flow gently forth 4 streams of purifying nectars.
Now, the Jabun Jezun Lama Chöpa said that the Chopa yu, to give you set of shipiki, and give you Lasotiki small that the could do the China, Dubaina, the Jabun Jezun Lama Chöpa said you, and to give you set that she will kill ya, and to get Lama and to Chang, and the Kigo Lasso, Tamje Las or Disilio Puins or that the
The first line, refuge protectors, venerable gurus, together with your retinues. This is the direct reference then to the merit field that we visualized before us and to whom we've invoked the wisdom beings already. So here, these are the objects or the beings to whom one will make the offerings or present the offerings.
Ne give set up ship Silya, and it walk on the Semja, Tamjig and Sanjo Kofa, Semja Dunga, Jada, Dunga, Java, Digita, Dembeke, and Digit and Java, Dunga, Java, Digit, Demba, Shores, and Big Jamniche Samta, Dene, Dejelia, Semja Tamje, Koi Dunga, Treasure, Sanje Salakugi, said Hassam Samta, Dene, Semja Tamjig, Sanjo Kofa, Tober Chikis, Tober Shores, Diane, Sanjo Komatoya, Nua, San Do, Cetelia, on top to our show, and big the Guno, the negate Janju Semu Gunoche. That dene Guno di Keora, that Guno can Guno di Honeda, Chopa, the Sulpus, doing you torsion Sata Chevia, Lama Idam, Lasso Hordan Chevalia, and Pugins and Big that those Chenanga, Mavatiruada.
Perhaps before looking at the verses in some detail, just to remind ourselves of the motivation that was generated previously. So here it's essential to ensure that the motivation one has cultivated in the preceding steps remains manifest as one progresses throughout the practice, and that one doesn't not remain under the influence of this motivation. So previously, if we look at the verses of generating bodhicitta, so verses 4 to 6, here we find that we have with a determination to ensure that all beings attain freedom from suffering, we have generated compassion, and attain a state of lasting happiness, we have generated love. So with this motivation of love and compassion, we developed this further, where we took it as our own unique personal responsibility to ensure that all beings are guided to eliminate the causes that will otherwise lead to suffering, and to cultivate the causes that will lead to happiness. And in this way, we generate the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, where we take responsibility for the welfare, the spiritual welfare of all beings. And in order to be able to actually fulfill this responsibility that we, from our own side, have willingly accepted, we commit to striving to become a Buddha so that we can be the most skilled of guides. And we, in this way, generate bodhicitta. So this is the motivation that we have cultivated previously and should be remaining throughout.
가리치도 피바레스 피고를 람나 미심제 탐지기도 산je 고마토 비치도 아니 피기 인식을 받아 가리치도 또 돈다 가리 돈다를 결혼 주 피고를 람나 미 산je 고마토 비치도 주 피기 예식을 와 아니 결혼 산je 고마토에 대 결혼 아니 가리 지기우야게 돈다레베스네 디 마레스 미심제 탐지 고위 동을 야 줘고도 제자 심제 탐지 고위 동을 줘제 야 산je 살고 심제 탐지 디기 주고도 제사디 심전 탐제라 심전 탐제 디기 두비알라 네 제기 심전기 된제호데 된제발라 심전리야 감당 몇번도 튕비게 취 롭종 제네 하는 거는 냠는 제주 상에 살고 제사디 데니기 감당 몇번 삼바도 튕바 차상 켄제 최된 신간의 상계마도 민도 제사다 심전기 된 제 심전 탐제 코비 동안을 줘제 탈바 탐제 기베 고방을 고발라 상계 고방 마톱나다 데니기 로버치 투사마르 디엔상이 셈젠기 동아 콜베 동아를 저 차상 산주고방을 꾸고도 디엔상아 산주고방 토구도 제다다 산주고방 토구도 셈베 산주고방 토투야 말 지사 산주고방 토발이야 규사고로 와서 지사디 제장이디 아니 산주고방 토비치도 아니 제 라마이담 사솔이야 아니 냐 최고프기 인사지 어두신 저 부고비 김전로지 디스모르다 나군노디 키와디 김전디로와.
The purpose of reminding ourselves of our motivation is to be very clear why we are about to make these offerings to our Lama Buddha, the Buddhas and our Yidam. And this is because we want to accumulate extensive merit to bring about a state of lasting happiness, but not for ourselves, for others. With a determination to ensure that all beings attain a state of lasting happiness, freed from any suffering or pain at all, we are now going to accumulate merit, because in order to be of benefit to others, we need a vast store of merit. And in particular, to be of benefit to others means guiding others in how to accumulate the causes for happiness and eradicate or eliminate the causes that will otherwise lead to suffering. In other words, be able to be a spiritual guide for others. But in order to be able to interact with others and engage with them in a way perfectly suited to their own unique personalities, one has to become a Buddha. It's only a Buddha that knows perfectly the individual dispositions of each and every being. So therefore, we are accumulating merit so that we can become a Buddha in order to benefit others. This has to be first and foremost within our mind, or to express it differently, needs to be vividly clear that we are accumulating merit not for our own welfare, but so that we can spiritually develop and be of real of benefit to others in the most meaningful of ways.
제산당 안주기 최고부에 들려야 안 그생이만서 차체비 갑라 기고에 라조는 미구송 투숨 연된 대야다 라리아 진지부 진진비 토네 데바지지도 제 차세로와 안디나진 지발다 최고부에 들려야 라미기 구송 투숨 연된 바지 연된 전제 들려 데바지지도 제다 안에지기 라미기 라리아 안지기 냠는 최电下把电上 진치모 끝인치모래 삼지del려 구비고네 안에 최고부에들이 디네 인자다 아주 인된 잼베갑리아다 겹군 제존 라마 코제라 시데 라마 교롱 라마 나이름 교롱전에 라마 교롱 이간주기 겹레 세월다 가와를 겹고르스는 코르게 둥알레 교롱이 간주 겹고르스 겹고르스 제상 가르스는 교롱 간주 람된지 냠는지 정말 코르게 둥알레 타야 산지오 고방 토야레 타야 코르게 둥알레 타야도나 교롱 간주 겹고르스 제상 교롱 간주 겹레 세지 제상 다이 권레스데 다 교롱 간주 권레스 가르스는 간주 야 탈바다 템지기모 고방 토야 람된지 교롱 간주야 산지에살야 치고르스 제산 권레스 제산 교롱기 지난 라마 교롱기 도스네 배 연대 띵한줄 라야디 그래서 교롱기 툭제 원게 교롱을 제 연대 만주 콜 동안은 콜라콜자 닝지 선생 만주 콜이 동안에 타지 띵이 되어디 산주고방 토고 디기 토고라고도 섬진 안줄래 제 원게도 스템바레 지난 교롱을 제 연대 데니스도 안데 데네기 탑란 띵비 캠비 연대도 데네 교롱기 안줄래 뛰는비 뉴비 연대도 지난 라마 교롱을 켄제 뉴스 연대도 지난 대제 라마 교롱 안에 안주기 코르 동안의 교회 겹레 라마 교롱 안주 권레 제가 안에 라마 제가 라마 제주 제가 라마 코르지에서 되다 이름 기월 하자 탐 차상 교롱을 도시네 라이 기월 하자 차상에 안 도시네 배 예구송도 연된 전제 대바 제주도 제 삼다데 다디 경원제도 라마 코르제라 세티스 원다 코르세데 기고게 사조나 코르 제가 대등한 상마를 코르선 차상 기고를 하소 쓰듯이 차상을 연이 코르스 되소라 조디 년들 라마 제르 뭐 제시 딜 기고나 괴시별 하소 세티시오라.
Looking then at the first line of verse 23, refuge protectors, venerable gurus, together with your retinues. So here, motivated by bodhicitta, we are focusing primarily on our Lama, with Buddha Shakyamuni at his heart and our Yidam at his heart. But we are, as it says, together with your retinue, referring to all the beings within the merit field. We're also making the same, we're approaching all of them with the same mental attitude, although first and foremost, we are approaching our Lama, or our mental attention, mental direction is towards our Lama, but also to all the beings within the merit field. The first word we have is that of refuge. So we see our Lama as our refuge. And here we call to mind his tremendous qualities and kindness that are our refuge, in that it's through developing qualities within us, just like he has, through following his guidance, that we will attain protection from suffering through our own spiritual development, and thereby be able to be of ever greater benefit to others. So here, and then the second to protector. So here again, both of these terms are in relation to our Lama, and also seeing our Lama as our protector. And what particularly protects us, again, it's very similar to the first word. Through his guidance, he is protecting us from suffering through giving us all we need to be able to develop the realizations of the Dharma within us. So bearing in mind now where we are in the practice, first step of the first verse of offerings just followed the 5 verses of making prostrations to our Lama. When we made those prostrations, we are making prostrations to our Lama, venerating his great qualities of body, speech, and mind, as well as his tremendous kindness and benefit that he's brought to us. So all of that is still fresh in our mind. And those same qualities, such as also his qualities of loving kindness, wisdom, and power, these qualities too of our Lama are all fresh in our mind, in that we've just called them to mind and offered prostration or homage to him. Now, with those in mind, we are referring to him as our refuge protector. And Venerable Lamas or Gurus, and together with your retinue, refers then to all the beings within the merit field.
zik kaso dordu chik dum ko domna songshagro naso shirin yaso buwani sedu naso la du chopuye ge che ba do me ba naso namba naso ta mara mangbo yede naso mangbo yede shibi jin sedu da chopuye ge namgal ya benang 저기 chik jimba shu gang de wen ta gyu 좀 남게 jimbi shasa kapshawe na dinashi 진비기 남가서 배 야심을 쉬러와 제가 남가 차상 강진 진비가봐 나시 취비 진세데 최바 배报都没把야심을 쉬러다 최바 자 말아 나서 봐报都没把야심을 쉬우지 취비 진 자소나진세 자소나지야 자소지야제 안데 타이 자소신 배 침부로 어디나신 报都没把的普音쉬러라
In this first line of verse 23, we've... Sorry. So in the first line of verse 23, we're reminding ourselves of various points, in particular the motivation with which we are about to make offerings. So we've reminded ourselves of the bodhicitta we generated earlier, as well as the field of offerings, or the field of merit, our Lama and his incomparable qualities and kindness. And now we come in the second line of verse 23 to present the offerings. I present to you oceans of clouds of various offerings. Here, there's various words which have a similar meaning of showing of expressing the vastness of the offerings we are about to make. Oceans, clouds, and various. So those three individual terms have a similar meaning here, in that, like a sky full of clouds, a amount of water as vast as the oceans. And the term various could be a lot broader than that, like a multiplicity. And it's all to show the immeasurable quantity of offerings that we are about to make.
That he Puyadi and Jiggy Puyadi and Jigging on Zuki Lama and Swashing Honozolia, Jiggy Dirwa, Jimbata and Kashelia, Ganga Yuation, and Ganga said to Nalia Jimbata Yoruba. That Lama Yang to Dinis Hoshin, the Lama Puella, and Lama Honozola Ganga Yun and Jala Pubi Kishimarawata, because of the Yomartin and also Sunam Sayag to Dal. That the Niki Bottom ever Puyas and Jade Puala dinner. The Nigi Puba della Sunam della Dene, and Lama Chöpa Gula, Kusun to Yuende, Yobanajin, Denashinchik, San Yoko watching Nia, Murdu Toba Shores and Besam Tony, a Puga or water. The Nigga some tango or Puyat.
What's hopefully clear in the second line is the vastness of the offering, so we can understand that the only limitation is one of imagination. We should really visualize extensive offerings. And here, just to be clear, again, to the purpose of making offerings is usually in society, when we encounter someone who's experiencing some kind of hardship, we make offerings of material offerings, or of our time, or of our skill and resources, so as to help them overcome their problems and difficulties. But that is not the reason why we are offering to our Lama in the merit field now. We are offering to our Lama in the merit field specifically to accumulate vast stores of merit so as to aid our spiritual development for the sake of others. So that is why we're offering to the Lama, not because he has particular need, but because we have a need. We have a need to accumulate merit and do so quickly, as we saw in the I think it was the 4th verse earlier, to quickly now accumulate merit so that we can spiritually develop and be of great benefit to others.
Dene marme puya, dene shese puya, dene roma la soba puya jorwa. Ondi ta deji chebe naso puya semada re ne chasan debchu son jorwa da. Naso puya ki chebe naso de karre sene karagara yorla na dene dire sen mari ji puya da puya ki songo. Tisa kwele rin joba ne ya le da ji du chu da yi bab se de da del ya ane nga ju chuyen puya dire chuyen se de chu de yuan chab dirwa. Chuyen puya de.
For us, the last 2 words in the second line of verse 23, various offerings. So here, those 2 words end at verse 23 and bring us into the next offering verse and those that follow it. And these refer to the various offerings that will be made. So we know from the usual array of water bowls and what they represent. First one offers waters, flowers, incense, lamps or butter lamps, perfume, food, and music. Now we come to those specific offerings, starting with verse 24. From spacious, elegant vessels, radiant and precious, flow gently forth 4 streams of purifying nectars.
아니 규제디 가르쳐서는 림보치고 쇠샤바지 규 림보치고 쇠바 내내 지게 섭다디게 빼 꼬여봤어요 섭다디 닝지고 꼬여래서도 꼬여봐 닝지고 쉬우요 봐 직통요는 바다 갈라랑 자다 되네게 다 되네게 꼬여래서 닝지고지 안 규디 빼 림보치 직 드라마를 주디오가 안 될려 왜 팅팅 왜 바로 와서도 왜 팅팅 저왜 바르게 나는 되네게 뇌 양능 세대 뇌디 배 충충라면 바지 아직 이 양보 기대 첨부 되네게 뇌 첨부질라 안데 다 출루서 뇌디 되네실이야 어두스진의 삼당고래제네.
The first line then describes the offering vessels, because offerings will be made in a container, and this is what is described here. From spacious, elegant vessels, radiant and precious. So here we have 4 adjectives describing the vessels. They are elegant in that they are beautiful to behold. In fact, joy arises merely seeing such vessels. They are spacious, in other words, they are large large and broad, radiant, radiate light, and they are made from precious substances.
Lama Chöpa Kableya, Deneki Chushitiya, that is Igorova, Jana Deneki Netiki Dinashinchi in some big Mavachi things, Mavachi or Deneki, Rimbochilla Druba in the Yawara, the Rimbochi Drumavana, Rimbochilla Druba in the Insabet. That the name that the Chopa Puya de Langazungus, Champion Chopa said, this one's almost Pasham to it. Then also Champa Mena, Yigi number 2 in the Chopa Puya, number Church, not so quickly said, Yigi some hundred in the US, Mavachi Puya Jorva, on this Jana Chopa delia, and also Champion Chopa down, Yigi tribute Chopa said, the Jinela Chopa not so pass. That in a Chulu say you knew that the Kintisha, that dinner Leon, da she Chuji, Taji Pop said that in my and Jiggy. Dinama Chulushi, got Chudi got his name, Duzigirashi, Dashi, Duzis, Dashi is the name of the game. Nyomobatic, Jeda, Delia, Chicket, Nyomobalia, and Nyomobada, Tiba, or was a better Nyomobi Tiba said, Shiji Tiba said, and the Legi Tiba said, Jorwa, 다 아주 연립다 시립식으로 민 주바세도 연립다 시립다 안는 시립게 바샤다 되네 레기 개왕아 말랭아 마사지 레기 디바 레두니 여러 안디네기 디바 되게 다야게 다시 제대 되네게 다시게 뒤지기 추 세대 되네게 뒤지 추 뒤지 임바 아주 통화를 추로 통해 있는 거 뒤지 임바 뒤지 된 아주랴 지 냥바 뇨바이나 남사 아주게 지 뇨모 비티바다 시시 티바다 레기 티바다 되네기 티바 가리나 차사 다로 다투에기 되네기 뒤지 안에 지 제 안에 되네 추디 파뉴얼 마서 시여 와시 어두스네 예 부여에서 비마바치 오래서 다시 뒤지 추지 다지 봤어.
The way the offering vessels are described is if you are able, when you do this puja, to actually have vessels like that, then that would be fabulous. Or a proximity of something like this would be really good. But at the but certainly what one should do, whatever quality of vessel one is able to place one's offerings in, what one visualizes should be like described here. And further to the 23rd verse, that second line, I present to you oceans of clouds of bearing offerings. Again, with the utilization of terms such as oceans, clouds, and various, we should understand that this is referring to offerings both actually arranged as well as mentally created, or mentally created. So likewise, our offering vessels will be both those actually arranged as well as those which we visualize. Then returning to the 24th verse, the second line, flow gently forth 4 streams of purifying nectars. So what the bowl contains, first appears as water, but is actually nectar. And this in its purified of any trace of karmic imprint and serves of negative karmic imprint, and it serves the function through this merit accumulated to purify us of both our obscurations to liberation as well as our obscurations to omniscience.
추시 대 가라서네 추시 요레세 추시 대 부에디 단다랑아 저기 냐마다 디 대도스 디소 저 부에기 디 초부에 저한테 야하기 릭슈나 됐어요. 돼 차고를 냐마 다게보다 되네기 즉 라마심보디야 안직 되니슈 안직 배경도 qabla 나머는 추식키고래 라고주야래 라고주야 추식체 되네 안직에 강부주야 추체 되네 안에 가 추시다야기 추체 근데 제일 한직에 수보다 디와직 토라직 요새 상도세 추데 언제지 되네기 추시 부야 돼 디래다.
The term here, 4 streams. So what that refers to is, as we'll also see coming up elsewhere, these offerings are made in accordance with the Indian culture at the time of the Buddha. So it refers to 4 purposes of that water will put to. One for sipping, firstly for sipping, secondly would be for washing the feet, thirdly for washing the mouth, and thirdly for sprinkling on the body. So these refer to the 4 streams, or you could say the 4 usages. Again, for sipping, washing of the feet, rinsing the mouth, and sprinkling on the body.
다 되네기 추지를 누버디는시 호래서 다 추푸야기 추들 누버다 두시기 라신 내가 디소 다디 가르스네 누버다 고르와 누버다 되는 다디 되는 섬다나 그 생이 망가서 가르시었으나 다 도나봐 산유점된디 디남 추 가사 디남 추 가사 엔식대로마서 톱놈 디버 추미 추신서 Tubnam Diba Chu Mitushin, Druid, Dunga Chagi Missile, Nigi Toba, Shala Permit, Chingy Dimba Dimba, draw Yuson Roa, Jena Sanjum, the Garsons and the Kyo Diba, the Chu Juja, Dio Marason Sarawa, Jen Chu in the Diba Dio Marava, then the Delia Daju choose the Ibab said the Dutch. The nigga chew more, Duzigi more, the and the Gasa Diva, the Shake Diva, the Nyomo Diva, the Legi Diva, the Daru, singing the Kawacharu.
You may well recall the very famous verse of Sutra, where the Buddha said that I can't wash away your stains with water. I can't remove your negative karma with my hands. The only way, I can't bestow my attainments upon you. The only way I can help is by teaching you the Dharma and you striving to attain liberation. So when recalling this famous sutra quotation, one may think that's rather contradictory to seeing 4 streams of purifying nectars washing away all my obscurations to both liberation and enlightenment. Whereas in the sutras, the Buddha says he can't just wash away our negativities with water.
And the news that this order that Dashi Juji Chudi and Divatagri said the nothing Hanzuki the Kizin Dangazu Puya de Liaden, Kizin Hanzuki She, the Karna that Nagi Yamlin that Dinga than Tivi Yamlensa, Lamsa Tombani, some Dango Larva, Jeza did Puya Chudi Chasa, more Tombani to be sheriff race or that Tombani Gomje, Tombani to be sheriff Imbala, number Chu Naba Imbashi. Jeza the more number me Tonga Chunu with Nangori, Nayalera, Nayal Churuji Tongori, Nangodi, Tombani to be sheriff race. Jeza Tombani to be sheriff Inza. Then you might be driven as a driver, you might be driven and share driver by Nimbos or the Tombani to be share or Tombani to be share of Gombalatine, you might be Pangurua, but Tombani to be share of Malcolmna, Casor, Yampa to Gomara. Tineza that the Puya Chuji, more number of Churu number near it, more Tombani to be share of series. Chizang more Tombani to be share of Inza, Nyomo be Nimbo Chagor, Nyomoza, Nyomo that to go. Chiza Daje said, Nyomo but Daje. 다시기 출라도 뭐 동반이 또 비셔라 이바 넘버 2 넘버 3 넘버 이바 뭐 동반이 또 비셔라 해서 다디 저기 남봉아 동반이 삼다 동반이 또落地 파去 넘버 다 출루세기 뇌디야 동반이 또 비셔라 용어 동반이 뇌제 될야 루에 추대 넘버 去 넘버 된 뭐 동반이 또 비셔라데 두치네 삼당고로 인주다 인자다 고 다시에 차고 되는 인자 고 동반이 또 비셔라디기 Nyomoba Nimboinza, Nyomoba Dache, Diva Dache Chagor, Jisa, Dijisan Yusuani, the Kawa Chago, Masayine, Lam Tingris, Jisan, and he got tingers in Denshi Nilu, the Dembani, Tombani, that they should think the currents in Yamlin Chevaletin, Jiva Pangore, said that Donna Chibuchiga Chaswada. And Sik the Danda Hamona, Sikora sometime, Saji did Soja did this, I did sweet killing, Saji did Dembara, did killing Gomarsambe, the Neon Sigirova.
If one has such a doubt, these are good doubts to have and important to eliminate, because it's all too easy to think that the tantric teachings and the sutra teachings are contradictory. But if they appear contradictory, it's only due to a lack of knowledge that a contradiction appears. What the Buddha said in the sutra teachings is completely correct and is in accordance with the tantric teachings. And the reason, though, that the tantric teachings are not contrary to that sutra quotation is that you'll recall, right at the outset of this practice, we meditate on emptiness. And in fact, throughout this process, what has been constant is that what appears to mind, or what appears out of emptiness. So this has been applied to many parts of the visualization, or the practice rather, and it's very much is the case right here. In that the mind that is realizing emptiness, this arises as the offering vessel. It also arises as the offering substances. And this is because the practitioner is skilled in meditation on emptiness and realizes and understands that both the visualized as well as the actual offering bowl, as well as offering substances, in other words, whether visualized or actual, have as their nature emptiness, or are in nature empty. And therefore, the offering vessel arises from this understanding of emptiness, as do the varying offering substances. Now, in this case, offering substance of water, that is said that to wash away our obscurations to liberation and obscurations to omniscience. This is in the nature of emptiness. In other words, it's in the nature of the consciousness realizing emptiness, and it is the consciousness that realizes emptiness that is the direct antidote to the obscurations to liberation and the obscurations to omniscience. So this is how, in Tantra, the wisdom realizing emptiness arises as, in this case, the offering vessel, the offering substance, and can serve the purpose as being the antidote to our obscurations. And that is because it is in the nature of the wisdom realizing emptiness, the actual antidote to all obscurations. So therefore, when we see here purifying nectars, we understand that what it means is what actually is purifying is the wisdom realizing emptiness that appears as nectar. What I've presented here, please apply to the other offering substances as well, because they are, whatever the substance may be, whether it's flowers or incense, they are empty of inherent existence, and they are, and what is arising in the aspect of the individual offering substance is the actual wisdom realizing emptiness. So the wisdom, one's own, the yogin's wisdom that is realizing emptiness, arises as the water being offered, as the flowers being offered, as the incense being offered, and so forth. And this brings us then to the offering of flowers in the 25th verse. Flowering trees, garlands excellently arranged, and beautiful flowers fill the earth and sky.
medo dongpo nan ma chu chu medo chu go yo ro go je nyan de su pa chi de ni che sha di na jin sha yo ro di na jin da dongpo la de medo xin ho ran cha sa ro ma go che da sim ma de medo ne an chi chu go che di na jin je ne an chi mang bu chi pu yo ro medo sil ma se wa de medo sil ma se da on do xin dongpo sil ma cha wa la na ya medo de gu ba le gyu chen cha wa na xue xin ya ji an ji da ya jo ro wa de ni ji de ni ge pa so da ya da an ji dun ba da de ni ro medo cha wa me dongpo sil ma cha wa be le ba se de ma ji be ba se de ba ji pa be le ga chen bu de be ji pa zam je pa pu ya ro xin se da le ba de ning je wo je de ne ze ba se de ne ge ze be me do 지난 되네게 아니 파 푸이당당 안 직상하게 닝제고 매도 호랑제 매도 남에 매도 다 말아 안지 매도 동보다 매도 신마다 매도게 차와다 되네 매도에 안지 천도르와다 지금 마보다 세보다 지금 직다 말아요 여봐 안 되래 안 지게 무슨 예배매도 디메베다 아직 지 세배매도 연구로 되네게다 지게 매도 나서요 봐 되네 제배매도 대안에 배 야지마 사다 바남 강사 사차사 매도 강도 봐서지 아니 남가 차상 동부 균에면 매도 강도 봐서 제사 사지 사다 바남 강사 되네게 강아지에 매도 대지 다마라요 되수시네 아니야 푸유베 마바치고다
Flowering trees, garlands excellently arranged, and beautiful flowers fill the earth and sky. The English is perfectly clear. That all that can be added is that, again, with the offerings that we either or both arrange physically before us as well as what we visualize, we don't limit ourselves to this mere description. All manner or all types of flowers, as well as whatever forms they take, whether those are on trees, those on bushes, those arranged in bunches, any form and type of flower as well as variety of color, all fill earth and sky. So here again, just to emphasize, the only thing that's not clearly stated in the English is that it's not just limited to trees and garlands and individual flowers, but it's all ways that we can imagine flowers being offered and assembled. That's how we should visualize and arrange if we can, as well as a variety of types and colors as well. And it should be done in a way that merely seeing it or having it visualized brings great delight, something magnificent to behold that leads to the risal of joy within oneself. The 26th verse is now offering of incense. Blue summer clouds of lapis smoke from fragrant incense billow up to the heavens.
Denige bue anjik dian bue se da dishimba che denige bue dian dishimba de didirwa da dine dion se bue dirwa chi dan bue dian anjige rinpoche yu rinpoche da denige jele tuptike bue se de be jikje be jik bue rikta mara yorwa denige 지기 진짜다 나 아가라사다 되네게 뭐 되네게 돈에 줍디게 그 하다 미기 되네 제일 된 줍디게 바도메 봐 예디게 지체 지심 뿌이기 두법에 뿌에세 지오라 뿌에라는 아주 뿌에 메리와 디람네 디마디 두알레 디마디와 제산 디디베 마세 야고 여바체 제산 디 뿌에 코론리아 제 담베 마세식 지 야고 여바체 denege chasan dombege te poe che di poe di yagoyo baje duba bereye se bereye ane yarge ngombo tinye halam tiklarwa chesa yarge se de manzoge bereye sene kaaboro sigurwa chesa poe puya de poe duwa de kaaboro siligurwa poe duwa kaaboligrwa chesa denege yarge ngombo se de ifan yargalda namnya pas nam ngoting yobachilia 진파 다 잡아줄 진데 야갈 먹물리거와 제가 진이파 강화되어 있나 남고 딩딩 여바질래 진이파 강화되어 나신 다 뿌에디 부여도 갈다 다 뿌에디 누워도 마선 빼 먹고 자 진나신 지로다 남칼 봐 캡디가 잡아 니나신 지 삼고 그래지래 지신 뿌에디 누버 베르에 예르게 온버딩이 할람 틱세데 되네게 고 진나신 봐 야게 남고 봐 진이 치바 나신 지바나지 뿌에뿌에 도와디기다 데네 티도가 데네 티도 도와디지만 놈여도 갑려야 루셈 대화 대기 ran심에 받기게 돼 데네 지가 받이 삼당 그래서
blue summer clouds of lapis smoke from fragrant incense billow up to the heavens. So here, again, the translation is quite clear. The impact of what we arrange before us, as well as what we visualize, should be such that merely beholding this brings great joy to one's mind. The types of incense that would be referred to here are a variety of substances mixed together, making a most fragrant of aromas. So later, I think in the 28th verse, it refers to several substances that the incense could be made of, such as sandalwood and camphor and so forth. So the incense would be made from a variety of substances. The smoke that arises from it. So we have a word here, lapis. Gendler was saying it's the smoke is actually white in color, and it billows up like clouds in the heavens. So again, the main thing that we can add to what has been stated here is that it brings great joy to the mind, merely recalling it, and certainly the aroma too will bring great joy to one's mind.
나 chime puye dire 마 니다 노보 라포 주면서 동세 문세를 위해서 제가 고여서데 니다 노보 라포 주면서 동세 문세를 위해서 제가 고여서.
The 27th verse. Joyful dancing light from suns, moons, glittering jewels, and masses of flaming lamps dispels the billion worlds' darkness.
나 먼저 춤을 부여도 춤에도 빼 마시게 빼내는데 데 니다 노보 라버 좀 소소로 니마 나와서 님이 공리야 아니 지금 팀버 균에면 니마 샤드는 지금 님이 왜 되게 쇼지 지지 캡려와 님이 공리야 나 채나 공이 나 빼내야 저게 남야고 다한테 왜 내가 정하러 보시나 대야 다위 왜 이렇게 캡려와 셔와 진짜 가르팅 이제 다위 진짜다 님이 공리야 왜 치셔도 니마래 세나 공리야 왜 치셔도 나와래 진짜 공인인데 왜 치셔 차대로와 나중에 안도시네 데레 제가 니다 노보스 제가 내가 지금 최매 부여도 최매가 왜디 빼다지 아직 되었으면 요만 많이 봐줘 빼지 왜디 최매 빠도 매봐 먹고 쉬우요 봐서 최매 부여가 왜디 님이 왜 나신 님의 공 님이 왜 나신 천하공 다유 왜 나지 빼 제가 질래 가지 왜디 첨부 쉬우 제가 제가 캡디가지 왜게 마캡서 기네 메디게 최매 부여 왜디게 디삼도 그래죠 니다 노보 라버 주면서 지나 니마다 나와 현진 된 노르웨이 데 바와 나신 준비 빠도 매바 준비 속세도 되는 취부에 취부 빠도 매바서로 되는게 빠도 매바지 내가 빠도 매바 가져 열어란다 가져 빠도 매바있나 가져서 준비 속에 가와가 간지 빠도 매바서 동숨 나야 지 캡되긴 문바디게 동숨이 문바날 파세네 왜서 최대 문바기는 매바자 되게 왜서 초와 되는 삼당 오래지 왜서 동숨 문제 왜서 제가 고여서
Joyful dancing light from suns, moons, glittering jewels, and masses of flaming lamps dispels the billion worlds' darkness. Suns and moons refers to the brightest source of light during the day is the sun, and the brightest source of light at night is the full moon. And here that together with the light reflecting from glittering jewels is used to inspire us in our visualization to have a mass of flaming lamps being offered. So the one word that's missing in the English would be an accumulation or a mass of flaming lamps. And here we are visualizing some arranged before us, but also visualize the mass of lamps that we are offering. And in the end, it dispels the billion worlds' darkness. And what we have here as billion worlds is fine. In other texts, you would have come across 3,000 world systems. It's the same term. So here again, it's the description of the vastness of the offering. And like with all of these offerings, we are only limited by our own imagination. We should give as freely and joyfully as possible.
에다 니메웨 다웨웨 다 노르부 요르시고 당한서 노르부 지게 지구에 바라와 요르세 디나신다 니마단 다와도 노르부에 바와 나신 안 드메 당한서는 제제 지한서 초소 쇼베데다 처음에 지니스마도 비우마와 이나다 코스버스 르바 삼로 나올바 베 디나신 야침부 쇼유 선베게다 디네게 외세 쳔표 외세게 바 외세 트어디 문바세데 균이 매바세 차상 가와이네 외세를 여디게 진짜 외디 문바 차상 세시네 대야 동 숨는 예배 문바 차상 세디게 저기 문바 차상 세나 안에 세요나 아 저기 미나다 자로 지나가리나 지 나오요나 안 숨려 가랑라지다 저기 연구로 와지다 랴가 가리나 제디 연구로 제사 제가 고해야지 이니기
Usually when we do the puja, whether at home or here, we'll just have a few butter lamps out or light sources. But again, whilst that's the case for most of the offerings, there is a limit to the physical offering or the actual offering. There is no limit to our visualized offering, bar our imagination. So we should imagine that such an extensive offering of lights that throughout all the world systems, there's not even a recess or a corner of darkness left. Light fills the entire universe. And all beings, whether humans or gods or animals, are filled with joy at seeing such offerings.
Puja sempa Geshe Thubten just like dinner social Sanjay Chopa Tobala, Jimbe Nyamlen, Panchen Rinpoche, just that don't sempa Geshe Thubten. Just not don't sempa Geshe Thubten, and Jema Sanjay Chopa told the Koran dig Jebu digita, Shelia and Robert Chelia, Chick Ganeshina Chetua Yungorwa. Just the dinner and Zangan, the critical Chamanism, Nism, Mason Big, dinner some mother, that Nism Madamena, that be Chunjuro Chali, don't sempa Yachima Chadugoma. Just the dinner and Chebu Piety best. Long the Luna, the show, somebody put into the and don't sempa, don't some Yachimbu Chagore.
In all these verses, we can see poetic language used to present vastness or represent vastness. So here we have the billion worlds darkness, or the billion worlds, and before we had, in the preceding verses thus far, there were other poetic language utilized to show the vastness of the offerings. And the purpose of this is because in terms of what we are able to materially offer, there certainly are limitations. But mentally, there aren't any such limitations. And similarly, what we can transform in the material world is incredibly limited to the transformation of our mental world that is possible, that is actually within our hands. So why are we being encouraged through the poetry of these verses to offer so extensively? Why not just put out a few butter lamps and visualize a few butter lamps? But rather, why are we encouraged to do such extensive and vast visualizations? And that is because we are motivated to become a Buddha. To become a Buddha, we need to practice the 6 perfections. And we want to quickly complete all 6 perfections. And therefore, we want to accumulate as much merit as quickly as possible. So why limit ourselves to making a few small offerings when we can make limitless offerings, because the expansiveness of our imagination, of our consciousness, this too is limitless. So what we are doing here, through making extensive offerings, is to create extensive merit, to bring about rapid accumulation of the 6 perfections, and to create causes to be able to help beings a vast array of beings in a vast array of ways. Because that is our ambition, is to become the most skilled of guides, to be able to help each and every being perfectly in accordance with their own unique personality. And therefore, we need to make extensive offerings.
And to get in there, some of your Puja de Dosma, your Martina, joy, some chick Samlon, dinner, the Jundu Charo, moving the Jundu member between by Charles Jundu Chassa, sometimes, and then I saw my and see what in it.
It's important we have a good understanding on this, because one may think that there's an act of deception. I'm only bothering to put out a few actual offerings, and the rest I'll just do mentally. And we may think that this is an act of deceit, but that would be a mistaken way to approach this.
Dinesh Puyin, Dinesh met the Putusa Marasabeda, and Milchinang, Dinesh didn't matter to Sangana Course and big Senachorva. Chesang Sena the Yomoba Chire. Chesan Sanjo go on to all the Sena the Mavasure. Chesan Sena get dog show in the person, don't be somebody, don't be somebody. Chesan Jachimo Karina Chasan Puguyos, a chick Puguyos and be some time, Sena the court Mavacho, so Sena Chukaru. Chesan Sena Gana, then got some of the Gachimota, Jumzendi, that was Sena Mavaso. Chesan do thanking some Denic Puguyos, remember Chigi, some of Gomgo Gomuchedu, and to don't somebody, you push church down to God. In the town, I do call Sena de Ma Union to God. Just Jimby Yamlin, Jimba Yamlin, J said, don't send Jaya and it in the tangy that Jay asked me, was that Chandu Samba Chandu Kablon was a Jigo Marwada, made in the Chita, made Longe on a shallow raw chicky, Yaconchola, then the Pugi, and be made some time. Then that the early Longe didn't none to so she and Lu Longe, and so Gawacha, Semja Donalia, thanking Semja Pugisia, and you are control Pugin Sipig, then Pug sometime Lu Longe gets or carry in a chasagic. Ya, and control ya Lamalia Puya, and she Semjala Tangi and Sebe, Dene do Chin some time, Yane do some time on the Jimbin, the Toy, Sembo Gumgor, so then Sem Shanda, some Madaji, Denigi, Tangina, some of Yane, do Chekora Yane, cause some of those in a one to Gurche, Yemocho, Diovanaz, Toy Sembalia Gumgor, Toy Sembenyam Chigor. It's not always somebody because you should chever in there, and also Sugi, Jama, Puya, Dang, Shanley, Roger, Korab Yevana, so Sugi down to go. Don't we somebody mena, and then Korab Yena down to go, Marva. Just that don't we somebody Chaya, the kitchen Mochagore. Just that the Ninza, that the answer do Chen Lu Longe gets what Casa Chasan, the catching bush, some big Puyas and bit some somebody don't we somebody catching bush, some down Gumgor, wada.
I want to talk a little bit more about the purpose of doing offerings, and especially in this manner, so that you utilize the opportunity when one has opportunity to make offerings, one utilizes it well and doesn't let that opportunity go to waste, especially if one just recites the words and moves past it without utilizing that opportunity well. Through thinking in the way that is presented here, what we are doing is developing our strength as well as our breadth of mind, transforming our way of thinking. Because in order to help a broad variety of beings, we need to be particularly broad-minded. What is the mind we are trying to overcome through generosity? It is miserliness. Miserliness is defined, or is experienced perhaps, as a narrow outlook. Generosity is a broad mind. These two are contrary. The broader we make our mind, the more is a more generous outlook. So by offering in a vast and extensive way that is presented here, just in these various two-line verses, we are transforming our outlook making our mind wide and expansive, developing our outlook, making it more far-sighted. And this is of such great importance because mindfulness is a narrow mind, narrow in all the context of that word. And what we are trying to do is train our mind so that it wants to give. It seeks out opportunities to give. Because if one is, to the extent that one is miserly and narrow-minded, narrow in one's outlook, one will not be seeking opportunities to give. Or to use a different word here, one will not be seeking opportunities to benefit. Not seeking them, even when they present themselves, one may well not even notice them. And on those occasions one does, there will be a degree of reluctance. There will be a degree of reasoning and excuse why one will not help others. But when one trains well in this practice of generosity, with both offering substances actually arranged and vastness of mentally created offerings, we will be offering our body, our material possessions, our skills and resources, and our merit. And we will be doing so, especially when we do so, in a way that it brings great joy and delight. When we then meet an opportunity where we can help others whether it's materially or with our skills and talents, or whether it's giving them advice or guidance. When we meet such an opportunity, joy and delight will immediately arise within us, and no thought of miserliness will hinder us. No thought of, I cannot, I shouldn't, maybe someone else, not this time, will arise. But rather with joy and delight, we will embrace this opportunity and give of ourselves to others readily. So this is what comes from not wasting these opportunities to give, and leading to developing a wide and expansive mind.
Sambi ngoso shamba de la dang zu nyu ma de mena dang ha zu ge sambi yu le le lang ne le na sam na le yu yo ngwe ne yu sambi sam ngwe ne ra yu be ma ba chin pu go ro wa che san de jun che go ma jun se de ngwe ne min ba ha go go le so sa go ma re de ina ma go ta de jun che go wa de so han zu ge de sambi yu le ngwe ne ra yu se be yu ba ge ma ba chi go ro wa.
It's good to reflect on this because what we are really trying to do here is cultivate the wish to give. And through focusing on cultivating the wish to give and expressing it in this beautiful and expansive way, then there is no deceit or dishonesty in our expression to give. And any accusation of, oh, you only give mentally, but you don't give materially, won't be apt, because we have developed a sincere wish to give, and we will give materially, and when we have the opportunity to give materially, whether with our speech or our physical behavior or possessions, we will do so readily, sincerely, and with ease.
On that day, Juba Puja Juba Chigawa Subolia Tini Timachuya Shora Juba Puja. And the Chidish in the lawyer that in Jamba Walkers and the Medo to be a mammy with the Tipuya de Roa. Chesan Tipu said it, the sheep put it to my noble, Timan Medua, that the Tipu said it, Tini Juni Timaya was a Jora, spotted sprays yet, do I didn't that. Oh, Chesadi, oh, Gavur Sadam said, Chesanda Puya did it, and in my 60 did it. Gavur Sadam, Sandia, Gugum Digube.
Now we come to the 28th verse, that of giving scent. Scented water, imbued with fragrances of camphor, sandalwood, and saffron, collects into great lakes.
Nyamane Chikene June Prinamat Maradiasan
The way that traditionally scent was offered was it would be rubbed onto the body. These days, of course, it's sprayed instead.
That Gudi and the Gavurda, Sing Zendeta, and Gurkum said Denegi, Sushbe, Denela Triptibida, and G. Pa Chikube, and the Chip Dinaje, the boy, the Chiku, Pugi Sing, the boy Mango, the naked, as a person, you sing Mango or the naked, Mango, the naked, said to be to water, Gabor, Zanda, Gugum, Digu, Pugi, choose it, the naked that, Chu number 10. You that it is so, dining on to get Gion, the Tumbig, the Jidin Tumbig, the next day, Joat said, more on to get the Dishi, don't you topic, lawyer corner, tribute on this, Sungorwa. Tis a denegate generation. More than the Dishi, don't you do what they line, but this down more tomba you come, don't you to be lawyer, number the denegate number, race matter more than tomba you to be lawyer combat, come, don't you to be shara in Basachi, Chagurua. Chisada, the nigger number is a number did that dinner is a number good to Gudi and Zendenda, Gurkabunda, and the Gurkumla Soba Tiniki, and the Pegu Chu number, Dian Chudia, Bed, Puchu, Chujin Koryukuni, Kiss, Jazu Chimbona, Bed, Kazena Chasa, Gandhi Basuchi, on the Niki, Bene Kiduba Yobachi, or Dustin sometimes, and Puhores.
I'll read the 28th verse again and just add one word in, but it doesn't really change anything at all, but nevertheless. Scented water, imbued with fragrances of camphor, sandalwood, and saffron, collects into enclosed great lakes. It's just the one word that's missing in the English. Collects into enclosed great lakes. So here we see a number of substances. Camphor, sandalwood, and saffron. And these are also used in the creation of incense, but here they are used not to create incense, but to scent water. And then this is offered. And the meaning here is, as with all these before, that what is being offered is the wisdom realizing emptiness that arises in the aspect, in this case, of perfume, before the wisdom, one's own wisdom realizing emptiness, arose as a butter lamp or as a flame, and before that as incense, and so forth. So the offering substance is arising from our own wisdom realizing emptiness, as is all of this practice, all the aspects of this practice.
In my Dichego, what I'm doing, Bonne, then Lama Chöpa idem Gyal Chazanlia, and the Jiki Chupuya dire, and the day, and the Jiki Jingan Nyama, that the Nyama Yorumche, Hindu Law, Chignala, then you should decide, then you should down what the Chutuya, that the Nema, Jik Shaptiki Pa, Juje, the Netu Servicelia, and the Jik Meto Puya, and the Judus Gene, Jipuya Puya, and the Do Jik Titu Such Jun Tidua, then and Jezelia, and the Jisaro, that in the Putin and Jijela, and Jiko, Jiki Yanji, Damien, the Tan, the Roshataya, the Nungdua, the Tinepudua, on the Nigeria water. Jik Puja, and then you are Meto Pu, the Nepu, the name. Chimmy Puya, that Chimmy Puya delay, then Yaman and the Chimmy Delian, that Mardang, Numda, and the Mangoya, the Nipuya, and the sign that Lokshe Dinashin, that Marida, Margi, Chimeta, Numi Chevena, the Negi, Mari, Rikta Maragi Chime, Nanum Rikta Maragi Chime, and Dimaze, and Logi Chi, Logi, Seshape, Logi Chi, Lokshe, the Negi Chimmy Puya Delia.
Whilst we're making these offerings to our Lama, Yidam, and the Buddha, and the entire merit field, This is coming from the ancient Indian tradition, and it's also still practiced in India today. In fact, His Holiness has, when he's taken part in ceremonies or rituals with Hindu priests, he himself has received offerings of these 8 types. So they still exist and are practiced in India today. And whilst, for example, the butter lamps, I mean, the Tibetan, I don't think even says butter lamps, it just says lamps. Whilst traditionally these were made from butter, and then later they were made from other types of oil, these days mainly they're offered with electricity. So, in the same way, we can feel a sense of freedom in how we create these offerings, both of what we offer actually, as well as what we offer mentally.
And Nala, Chopa, Yudelia, and the Lama de Michige, that is, and Jerimoche Lama, and Tuatu Cha, the Delia, and Deva Dida, and the deal Hasso, Kigo, and Jubil Hasso, Tam, Lama, Lama, the Idem Sanyejas and Bo on the Chazan, Tanjigi, and Kuson to you, Indian Change, Delia, Deva Zidu, and Delia, and Lamigi, Ralia, Chusum, getting Chimboshu, Sanche Lamia, getting Chimwins, getting Jamie Tone, and Gushap Cheche, and that during Simja Tamjigi Tandal. Sanji go on you to Togu to Din Zange, and Lamaya, and Jiggy. Panchen Rinpoche, Sanji go on to be Chido, and Chopa to Supu, Simbi Meva Cheche, and another to Puja. The Nigi Pubi Gablina, that Kuno de Jin, Janjusim Jukunela, and Delia Pubi Gablia, and Jiggy, Puya, you give you the in there, Rashi Matuba, Timber to be Tomba, some diada. The Puya gets in there. Ranshin to be Tomba some dia. The Rang Pugan Gasa, so in there, Chick Tashan Chibes, and Rang when the mother don't be more in, simply more Ranshin to be Tomba in Bala number that gave you down. And the Chiki Puyaki Chizeda, in Zeda, and Suzuki Pugan Gasa to do and some daje, and Jingazo Puyadi. That did ringy, magic did she Chopa in Yamnijadi, do chin some dango already.
Just to summarize then what we've looked at tonight, is that we saw that the objects to whom we're making the offering is our Lama, or Lamas in the aspect of Geshe Rinpoche, with Buddha Shakyamuni at his heart and our Yidam at his heart, as well as to the entire merit field comprised of our other Lamas and the lineage Lamas, deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth. And we when making the offerings, we do so with an awareness of the tremendous kindness and benefits that our Lama brings to us, as well as his tremendous qualities of body, speech, and mind. And all these were generated in the preceding section of prostration. And this entire practice is held by, first of all, bodhicitta, which is the determination to accumulate merit in this practice so that we can quickly become a Buddha for the sake of others. You remember the meaning of this expression, quickly, in the 5th verse. So in this very life, in fact, in this very retreat, may I become a Buddha, or I'm determined to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And the motivation of bodhicitta is conjoined with our wisdom realizing emptiness. And throughout this practice, these two minds need to be present. And here, in the offering practice, as elsewhere, we need to keep bodhicitta and emptiness present. And in the offerings, we do so through the awareness of the emptiness of the three spheres. And so those 3 spheres refer to the offering substance, the activity of offering, as well as the person doing the offering. So those are the 3 spheres that we keep in mind as being empty. The offering substances are empty. The activity of offering, the consciousness engaging in the offering, is empty, as is the person, ourselves, making the offering. It's empty. So in this way, we are aware that the offering substance has arisen from our wisdom realizing emptiness, as to is our offering and the being, in that we too have arisen in the aspect of the deity. So in this way, we're keeping in mind our motivation of bodhicitta as well as our wisdom of understanding or realizing emptiness.
On the Negi Chopa Digi Puyon de Gala Lama Digi Lama da Jual Hasola Puyon de Energy Lama Digi Dusia de La and Chopa Digi Puyon, Chopa Consulia Puyon de Unconsul Pe Matulia, Chopa de Suila did the Sugi Yen and a Consul Tulia Ben, Chick Pe Masive, Chick Gati, Delana, Chick, Get the Negi Johnson Sempig down Sugi, the Jinade Lama da di Dial. 예 말에 내가 스스로 매베톤에 두스제네 되니게 제 라말 두스제네 푸야 돼 되네 배 투냐 라마디 라마 이담 하서 거기서 찾아 투녀보 배 가보시고 중송하서 이제 다 되니 이제 안에 라마 투랑기 최고 푸제 라마 투녀 바인자 소나면 소소라랑 소나 배하고 사송 빠도메 바 사송 선비기랑 아주 매바 제르와다.
Another key point to be aware of is that when we're making these offerings, great delight is coming to our lamas. They are aware with their omniscience that we are making these offerings, and they are aware of our motivation, as well as our attempts to arise to have this all arising from our understanding of emptiness. So they are aware of this. And great delight is arising in their minds. And we can imagine this in terms of visualization before us, that great delight is coming to them, as arising within them as we are making this offering. The truth of the matter, of course, as enlightened beings, already they're experiencing great delight, but they are seeing their disciple, their student, generating vast stores of merit, rapidly progressing towards the attainment of Buddhahood for the sake of others, through engaging in this practice, and in this case, making offerings. So of course, delight will arise within them. And we should be aware of this, because this will lead to delight arising in our own minds, and that joy serves to enhance the merit that we are collecting.
엉이 라마디 마고마지 제론지 검든지 다다 차사 말씀베게다 제 삼도지 장치가서 남도로 용식으로와 지자디 하나 저기 라마디 다딩한 남바샤데 제르무치 딩한 라마디 인삼고로 나서 라마디디 인삼고로 와다가서 디삼고마다 야지 엉이 라마디 제르무치 금 딩이 라마디 제르무치 남바디 가가래 지자 라마주 딩하나 라마 마고 제르무치 금 야분스 베 삼주 용식이 지자 랑게 라마디 랑게 라마 임발라 남바디 두스체네 파차주게 지자 랑게 라마 제르무치스나 랑게 라마디 상예스나 투어 디니게 도지 창세나 소수게 라마디 인세 대소 소소 라마 가제 예베나다 라마 니숨 지기 니숨 가제 예나 대소 라마 차사디 디 나바샤데 디기고 인세 딜 남바디 차마도 라마디 인세 모로데 뭐네 뭐 인세 모로다.
You recall before us we have Lama Chöpa visualized with Buddha Shakyamuni and our Yidam at their respective hearts. Just be very clear. If anyone has the doubt of, but why am I visualizing Lama Chöpa? Lama Chöpa isn't my Lama. Our Lama, your own individual Lama or Lamas is appearing in aspect of Lama Chöpa. But this is your root Lamas before you. So whether you have one or several Lamas, they are appearing, they are all of the same essence, and they are all appearing in this form before us of Lama Chöpa, or in the form before us as Lama Chöpa. So if you have several Lamas, they are all of the same essence, and therefore they all are appearing in this one aspect of Lama Chöpa before one. So if you have any thought that, Geshe Rinpoche Lama Chöpa isn't my root Lama, here your root Lama or Lamas is or are appearing before one in the aspect of Lama Chöpa.
Delia Choshinala that you Jeremichi two and power way church, where the Gale Lama Mangostua, Chisan Tichaza, Lama Digi number Chaza, Jeremichi, Lami, two and power church, your remado, two Dijavana di Lama Chibuchadicor. Chisan do number Denigi Trene Yaji, Mahmoud Denigi Lama number, Tamara number 20, Chisan Lamigi, Chiki Chasa Lami Warriors, Chisan Lamigin, Duchene. 감나 두제 감나 뭐바다 삼바 준비게 샹래 판도 주에 된다라 나 남바 두수신 된바디 두신의 차상 모지바 공고와.
You recall from the visualization, you have it on the front cover, from your Lama visualized as Geshe Rinpoche, from his heart, light rays radiate out, and behind him and to either side are varying lineages of Lamas. Now, the reason for them emanating out from his heart is it would be a little bit difficult for us to visualize them all at his heart. But these, we recognize, are all emanations of our Lama. They are all, in essence, our Lama. In order to benefit different beings at different spaces and times, he shows these differing aspects to benefit beings in accordance with their particular dispositions. But they are all emanations of our Lama. They are all, in essence, identical to our Lama. So, thank you. We'll conclude here tonight, and next week we'll start from the 29th verse, continuing with offerings. So thank you very much.